Well, good morning, Facebook family. Good morning to the leader in you. We will be kicking off in about 1 minute. We have a phenomenal guest for today's show. You know, we have our co-host with us. Again, we will be kicking off in about 1 minute. So we say good morning to the leader in you. We say good morning to your possibilities. We say good morning to your dreams. We say good morning to everything you're going to accomplish on today and the rest of this week. This week is going to be a phenomenal week. You know why? Because we've already predetermined it in our mindset. A lot of times things will not turn into a reality until we can conceive it in our mind. Once we conceive it in our mind, then we do what? We go to action. And that is what we are going to do today. That is what we're going to do the rest of this week. We are going to go to action because that is what leaders do. We activate. We don't just sit on our dreams. We don't just sit on our goals. We go into action mode. So I say to you, even before this segment kicks off today, what things do you need to kick into gear and go into action mode? So even as this conversation is going forth, because I'm telling you, the gentleman that's with us on today, he's a man of action. He is not a man of just talking. He's a man that produces, okay? So I want you to put that word in your mind. What will I produce on today? Well, you know, it's that time. It just struck 9:30. I'm about to bring on our co-host, Dr. Leroy McKenzie. He's been rocking with me for weeks now, and I tell you, it has been phenomenal. I'm going to pass the baton over to Dr. Leroy so he can formally introduce our guest for today. Dr. Leroy.
Good morning, everyone. Y'all know what it is. It's Tuesday morning, and what would your Tuesday morning be without the good morning to the leader in you crew? That's Miss Catherine Trotter. That's myself here coming to you this morning to give you a little bit of that. We're a little bit stronger than coffee, Catherine. I think we're a little bit stronger than coffee, so we're going to get the people going.
Yes, sir. And I also forgot to mention, for those business owners that's tuning in, as we go live, as we speak, please drop your business information and we'll be giving you a shout out throughout the show. Back to you, Dr. Leroy. Yes, we're stronger than coffee. I agree.
And you just said something that I thought was really key. You talked about mindset. What is your mindset going into not just today, but this whole week? We want you to set your mind focused on where it is that you want to be, because here's something that I found out or realized, or however you want to call it, came to the light about it. But I was reading this book about Secrets of the Millionaire Mindset, and the author says whatever the mind focuses on, it expands. Whatever the mind focuses on, it expands. So if you're focusing on something negative, then negativity is going to expand. If you focus on something that's positive, then something positive will expand. Whatever your mind focuses on, it expands. I want you all to get that in your spirit this morning. Mindset is everything. Mindset matters. And today is going to be a phenomenal conversation. We have this week, I've been thinking about stuff, and I was listening to an interview with that Kobe Bryant did, and it made me start to think about game changers. Who are game changers? Who are some of the game changers in our community? And this brother that we have here with us today, he is a game changer. He is a drum major. He is one of those people that we lean on to look to in the community, because as Catherine said, he's a doer. He is someone who is about action. It's not just about talking about it, always having. He is as he said, he is a solution. He'll talk about that. He is a solution-oriented gentleman. And his newspaper, being in the media, he is about just that very thing. And it's none other than Brother David Murphy. And I'm gonna let him tell you all about himself. But he is someone that I respect and have so much respect for, because of what he's done, how long he's done it, and what he continues to do in the community, for the community, and then about the community. So, Brother David Murphy, thank you for joining us this morning. We want to have you to introduce yourself to those that might not know, because I mean, you just been around. For those in Baltimore, we already know who you are, but we'd like to introduce the rest of the people to Brother David Murphy. So, thank you for joining us today.
I appreciate both of you for inviting me, because it's an honor and a privilege, and I mean that by every sense of the words, because anytime somebody who recognizes you, who think that you have done this and who have done that, and it's much appreciated. Because sometimes many of us go throughout our life and nobody give us accolades or say thank you or things like that. But I appreciate you for having this type of format because it is so much needed in our communities. And again, my name is David Murphy, and I'm a Baltimorean, born and bred. But my roots come from North Carolina and South Carolina. But I don't mind. It's a badge of honor to me. I'm 70 years old right now, and I've been around the block once or twice. But because of my upbringing, because of the things that I endured, the things that I've witnessed, kind of mold my life. I came up in the area where there was a lot of discrimination. There was hardly no media outlets for Black people, African American, or melanated people. And so I grew up listening to other folks' narratives. I watched their shows, and I watched how they treated us as a people. And I witnessed this firsthand. But in any case, if you're Black in America, most of us have been through this, situation because it's systematically set up. But because of my lifestyle and through hurt and pain and everything else that I had to endure, it comes to a point in one's life that you have to make a serious decision. Like Brother Dr. McKinney just said, if you put your mind on one thing and it will expand. If you do something negative, it will expand that way. And if you do something positive or think positive, it will expand that way as well. And so, like I say, when I came to this crossroads, it was, like I say, in my case, a life and death situation where I had either changed my mindset or I could no longer live the way I was living. So, not trusting in myself because I had made so many bad decisions back in them days. So I tried this thing like a lot of you call faith, trusting God, and so I cried out to a God who I wasn't too familiar with at that time to help me. And I did get help because a lot of things started changing in my life. I went back to school. I took up the trade of printing, got a job in printing. Next thing out of printing became, I went on a mission because I was angry one day. I ended up starting a Black business directory here in Baltimore. It was called Togetherness Unlimited. And it was a unique type of directory because at that time, this was back in late 70s or early 80s. And I went all over the city and I gathered information about Black businesses and services. And I asked them if they'd be willing to give a discount to people if I brought them to their specific businesses or service. And they agreed to say, sure they would, if I would bring people to them. So I came up with this idea where I created a discount card, which will enable the consumer to go into hundreds of Black, African, melanated businesses and services. And it was a win-win situation because the consumer saved money when they patronized Black businesses. The Black businesses was receiving new customers, and I did okay for myself because I was selling the card in the directory. But a glorious, wonderful thing happened in my life while I was going through that process. There was, when I went around to all of those businesses, it was over 1,000 Black businesses that I went to before I started the directory. And these business owners told me some heartbreaks and some uplifting things that they've been through. They couldn't get money. A lot of them even applied for, small business administration. They couldn't get grants, loans, anything like that. Some of them were working full-time jobs trying to operate businesses. A lot of them was very creative, creating their own products, goods and services. And for the first time in my life, as a Black man, I was so proud of my people because I didn't know that they, that creative, like I said, when I came up, we didn't see great images of us, it was very negative. And for the first time, like I say, it brightened, it showed me a different way of looking at us. And I was so proud about it. Then the idea came that somebody need to share these business owner stories. And I didn't have a clue about newspapers or anything. I was a printer. I had no clue. But somehow, because, like I said, when you put your mind to something and you inspire to do something, then you don't worry about how you're going to get it done, the obstacles. You just go forward, you take the first step on that journey. And that's what I did. But in about several months later, lo and behold, I came up with a publication called The Informer newspaper. And I went around this city and I highlighted those Black business owners. And I shared their stories all over the city. And you know, Dr. McKenzie, let me just say this to you. You know, in the history, not only in this country, but I'm talking about the history of Baltimore, Maryland, and the same things happen in Baltimore, Maryland has happened to just about every major city. We have so much wealth of talent, goods and services in our community, but unfortunately, we don't have enough media to expose those businesses and services. And media can be extremely expensive in some areas. But that's why I applaud you for having this type of format, because, see, that's exactly what you're doing. You're exposing other businesses and services. You're bringing them to the forefront. And I often tell people, I know I'm jumping off the subject a little bit, but I just have to get, you know, when you're my age, you better get it in while you can. But in any case, but because of what you all are doing, even bringing me on to share my story, and you know, and the people that I interviewed back in them days, you know, they didn't write their own books or something like that. Their stories didn't get told, and so that's why that was the uniqueness about the Informer newspaper that I printed, because I was sharing their stories, and they was extremely appreciative of that, you know, because like I say, some of them been around 25, 30, 40 years, and nobody shared their stories. And even to this day, as I evolved over the years through the internet and things like that, now we have done things online, and I also published, as Mr. McKenzie say, Dr. McKenzie say, I published a nationwide Black newspaper called the National Black Unity News, which is so unique. It's not because I'm there, it's by divine inspiration. And we have a host of people that work with this publication, like Dr. McKenzie, for one, who brings information to us. You know, he brings all types of books to us, you know, that people may not have heard of, but was not for him, you know, all across this nation. But the National Black Unity News is what we call a collaboration. We are self-sufficient. We don't rely on anybody else but ourselves. And the way we work is this, you know, everybody brings something to the table, and they share the information of their expertise. We even finance our own publication. And it's what we call a solution-oriented publication. You get enough of who got killed, who's doing this, and who's doing that, but you know, this is solution-oriented, something that can enhance one's quality of life. And so, you know, like I said, I'm 70 years old. There's so much to me, you know, so many tentacles that I've done over the years. But basically, where I'm at today is this. We are going across this nation sharing positive information, not only in this country, but and beyond, especially in Africa. We have a format that is affordable, it's effective. It highlights our people, it highlights our organizations. And we are telling, the bottom line is we are telling our stories. Not only will, you know, people today can see it, but our children and our children's children can see our narratives from this point forward. And so, Dr. McKenzie, Ms. Trotter, you know, I truly appreciate you both, because, you know, Ms. Trotter and I go a long way back. You know, she's been out there soldiering for a long time. and I'm so pleased to see that she's still on the front line, still in the battlefield. A lot of people have gave in, and called it quits, but she's still fighting. So, you know, I appreciate that, young lady, and you keep doing what you're doing. So back to you guys.
And, you know, we have some shout outs we would like to make. People are tuning in. We want to give a shout out to author Angelina. She's from the Texas area. She dropped a comment as you were sharing, Mr. David. She said, step into faith and watch God work. And then we also have Miss Nikasia Thomas tuning in from the Baltimore, Maryland area. She has a phenomenal artistry business, and you'll be learning more about that as time goes along. And so we have so many people popping in and tuning in. Again, as you tune in, please drop your business information in the chat feed on Facebook. And as we flow throughout this conversation, in between, we will give you a shout out. Dr. Leroy, back to you.
Sure, Brother David. you know, I always, it's something that has always stuck out about what you say, and I want you to talk about the importance, because you talk about this all the time. You talk about the media, and you talk about how we only make up 1% of the media that's represented out there. Can you talk about how important it is for us to utilize that 1% or maximize that 1% in the media, and then how we can move the needle in that increase in that 1%, if that's possible? If you can talk about that.
Well, you know, it's a lot to media. Media is a very powerful tool. And it can be, like you say, it can be for you or against you. Unfortunately, in this country, media has been against us. And like I said, we have a very small voice, but nevertheless, we still have a voice. And again, that's why I appreciate what you're doing. But let me just say, I think it's important that we need to understand this. Media is so powerful that it tells you what to wear, what's in, what's out, what's up, and what's down. You know, our children listen too much, this propaganda. And media is so powerful, it started wars, rumors of wars. I'm talking about they can make you, the top person in the country one day, and then you lower than dirt the next day. That's the power of media. But let me say this about Black media. Unfortunately, like I said before, we own less than 1%. And unfortunately, the majority of the media that we do have is kept. And I say kept, it means it's supplied by corporate America or other people's businesses. And so therefore, majority of our media will not speak truth to power because they depended on their resources to continue their businesses and services. So therefore, I'm just giving you an example. Like I'm in Baltimore, and I'm just using this as an example. Say if a food market was selling African American bad meats or something, and the newspaper got a hold of it, they dared not to say anything because they may be sponsored by Giant. There's been people that sit on the same board with Giant or a food market or A&P or anything else like that. And so therefore they couldn't open their mouth. They can't say anything. And let me say another thing about media. Now, none of us call this thing what we call our neighborhood. Some people call it the hood, things like that. But do you know people come from all over the world to set up shop right in the hood? Because media propaganda has told people all over this world how Black people, how they perceive Black people to be. They say that there's wealth in those hoods. So that's why you see they will set up a shop right in our hood, make a fortune, because there is wealth in our communities. But they'll tell you through media that we disconnected, we don't have resources, and we don't have this and that. And so through propaganda and media, a lot of us believe that. And I shared this with Brother Dr. McKenzie a couple of weeks ago with this. Now, years ago, about 7, 8 years ago, Asian association called me up one time. And they said to me that they wanted to create a Black director, a nationwide Black director. They said, you the man, I heard you the man that can get this done for us. And, my antennas are going up. Why are these Asian people trying to do a Black director? and so, and they went on and on, the power of this and the power of that. And I asked them, I say, first of all, why are you all trying to create a Black directory? Why aren't you doing an Asian directory? And then they broke it down to me. It was kind of shocking to me as well. They said that we, Black, African, melanated people are the most people that have more unity than anybody in this world. He said, y'all wanted to make the way for us to come here and to do what we do. He said that Asian, and it was a bunch of them from different countries, all different nations of Asian, Vietnamese, Indians, and everything else. But in any case, they said we don't even get along with each other. He said Chinese don't deal with the Japanese. He said we don't deal with each other like that. And he went on to say with the Hispanic communities and everything. He said black people ought to have more unity than any group of people. And see, and that's another thing needed. Everybody, even us, we talk about this most of the time, is that we are discord. We don't see nobody see eye to eye on anything. I don't care who you are, but but one thing for sure, if you look at our history in just in this country, I ain't talking about our true history, before that, but in this history, look what we have able to achieve. But they won't tell you that. We have endured so much atrocities that come up, but yet we still exceed. You see what I saw last week when I saw a news bulletin go across, and there was the president of the United States in the middle, and there was another lady with the vice president standing, a black woman standing on one side, then on the other side, a Supreme Court justice. See out of this kind of stuff, but they'll highlight things like that. But see, there's millions and millions of vice presidents, Supreme Court, just all in our neighborhood. We got people like Dr. Leroy McKenzie. He don't get in that spotlight all the time. Catherine, Miss Trotter, she don't be in the spotlight unless they can put themselves in there sometime. But see, we got gems all through our community, but all they want to show you through media is us doing this and us doing that. Now, I'm going to just say this, and I'm going to shut up about this media thing. But you heard the thing called the slap went around the world. That got more media because it was us. So they want to show how they want to perceive us. Got more attention even than the war that's going on right now that week, and it's still being talked about. But see, that's the power of media. They can keep things going when they want to, or they can shut it down. And so don't take media lightly, because like I said, it influences our children. It influences us every day. And unfortunately, the way we are made up, what you are seeing, and when you're going down the road in the highway, you're seeing billboards. When you get up in the morning, you see the news. When you on the computers, you see this, and all you don't see are things flashing at you. Advertising, this, that, is flashing at you all day long. When you got that much stuff coming at you all day long, and it's coming from outside resources, then it's no wonder why we think the way we do. And we believe, because you tell people things long enough, they'll start believing it. But the truth is still the truth. We own less than 1% of the media, but I'm going to tell you one thing else, though. Just less than 1%, those who are of us who are in true media, it's true for the cause. It's a gem, and you need to support it. Because if these voices get squelched or quieted, then there's no hope for us. And media covers a whole slew of things. Like I say, it covers just about everything you see and do. And so when you see podcasts or broadcasts like this one this morning, please give us support, because it does take time, energy, money, and everything else. And sometimes, most of us, we don't ask for anything. But while we have these gems still in our midst, we need to support it, because when we share our stories, our narratives, and I'm so proud of what the National Black Unity News do, because we are sharing so many narratives about us. That us, like I say, and because of the way the internet is made up, it goes viral. And do you know how my great-great-grandchildren can see my story now, and they can say, not that they ain't got to hear from nobody, they can hear directly from me. And this is the power of today. And nobody can erase that. They can try to put some little shades on it, but when we start telling our stories, that's what Dr. McKenzie do. When he starts talking about all these books that we wrote, telling us that our grandfathers and our great-grandparents, we didn't have that type of luxury now. Their stories have been wiped out. But now, this day and time, by any means necessary, you need to support Black media, especially those who are supporting you. Back to you.
Absolutely. Kathy, you have some more shout outs for us?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to give a shout out to people that are plugging in, and we appreciate everybody that's supporting. Miss Sandra Daly from the Florida area, Mr. Randy Wells from the Baltimore, Maryland area, Miss Barbara Pinnock from the Maryland area. I tell you, Mr. Henry from the Philadelphia area. One of the things that I know, something that struck home as Mr. David was talking, and he has stated there is wealth in our community. That struck home, and I wrote that down. And I think it's about the mindset shift in everything that I was just hearing as you were sharing, David. You know, the media can shapes how we think. You just said something about how we dress, how whatever we do, it shapes it. So then the thing is, that's the beautiful thing about what your news article and paper does. It creates that narrative about us, and it educates our community in terms of combating against some of the negative narrative or the negative conversation that goes on about our community. And I think that's so pivotal and so important and it's key, because we have to really shift our mindset that no, there is not a drought in our community. There is actually wealth in our community. Another thing that struck home to me when you said, why else are they coming in our community? They coming in our community for a reason. As you mentioned, the Asian community, they on different corner stores. I mean, they got corner stores everywhere. But why would they come if they really felt it was a drought? Why would they come? They wouldn't come, because they're here to do what? To make money. And so I don't know. It's like I knew it, but it's just the way you said it. It just, I don't know, it just struck a different way for me. And for those that are tuning in now and tuning in later, I want you to think about that statement. There's wealth in our community. Asians would not come to our community if there was a drought in our community. It just wouldn't make mathematical sense. There would be no currency exchange. So then we have to look in our communities and say, okay, if there's wealth in our communities, other individuals are coming into our communities, then how are we going to be in our community and build it up? You know, how do we collaborate? How do we come together as one? And there's so many other business owners in Baltimore City, African-American business owners, that we are working together, but it needs to be more. It needs to be more collaboration. We know there's so many homes that are dilapidated or rows of houses. What if we all came together and purchased a block? Now, I do know there are some that have done that here in Baltimore City with their own funds at that. And so it's happening, but in order for it to continue to happen and happen in a greater way, it takes that collaboration, and it takes us coming together and building together. Dr. Leroy, what are your viewpoints?
Yeah, Kathy, you just honed in on something that I think is very important. It's not that it's not being done, because we know it's being done. But when you have a media outlet such as the National Black Nudity News, they shine the spotlight on it. They talk about it so that more people can know about it. And it doesn't become the narrative that, oh, we aren't doing it. No, it's being done. But are you spotlighting it? Brother David, when you talked about the slap that was heard around the world, and I hate the fact that folks kept saying, well, we're talking about, all we're talking about is Will Smith smacking Chris Rock instead of the other things. Well, let's talk about those other things. Samuel Jackson getting an Oscar. Let's talk about those other things that, that you are saying aren't being talked about, because in media, if you talk about them, then they're being talked about versus just kind of an afterthought. You're mentioning them without mentioning them. Talk about it instead of saying, well, okay, how about Will Smith smacks Chris Rock being an afterthought? I know it's a big, it's a big thing because who he is and everything like that. But if you don't focus on that and you take the focus off of that, I should say, and you focus on the other great accomplishments that happen, then the focus becomes on those other great things that are being done. Same thing in our communities. When we focus on those great things that we talk about, but David, I'm from Baltimore. I love this city. There's some phenomenal, great people. There's some phenomenal, great businesses that are right here in our community right now as we speak. But people won't talk about them. They'll talk about the other negative aspects of the city versus those businesses, those communities that are flourishing and that are doing great things because they want to shape the narrative. And you do have to have something that combats that, which I'm so glad that we have a National Black Unity News that can combat that, and to be able to show, no, this isn't just about Baltimore. This is about us nationally and globally. Because the National Black Unity News doesn't just touch this country; it touches other countries. It touches the diaspora. So it's vital in that we do that, because people will shape their narrative of what they think about us as the Black people here, even from across the world. They'll think about us when they pick up this newspaper. they have the opportunity to be able to see us in a different light than if they're not going to say. Because I tell people all the time, this paper is going to tell you those stories that you aren't going to readily hear everywhere else. And if you could, but if you could talk about that, talk about some of the editors and stories that you have in the newspaper, so people have an idea.
Oh wow! Like I say, man, again, I keep mentioning my age is for a reason because it's longevity. And that's why I say I've been around the block once or twice. But let me say this first. I've been in many organizations. I sit in many meetings over the years. And I've been hearing we've been talking about this sometimes. You can say unity, unity, unity. And other people see our unity, but we don't see it. Even myself. Now, I'm going to share this with you before I get into what you just asked me. When I told you when I was coming up, because of the discrimination and everything like that, because of my mindset, this is how powerful the mindset is, because media can do this to you if you allow it, if you don't have other options. Now, I didn't think too highly of my self-esteem was so low because, like I say, because I seen what it did to my father, who was a very educated man. They had him, 2.5 years of college. Today, he would have been like a doctorate degree, for all education was concerned. But they had him cleaning out toilets. And I watched his demise because of his self-esteem went down. And then myself, I stood at Calvin, couldn't get weight on. I went to a predominantly white school and was called every name. They was protesting at the age of 11 years old, was protesting against us. And so, all of this attention and stuff over the years built up to my self-esteem was about nothing. And as a matter of fact, I didn't look at us too brightly. I say, man, we ain't about nothing because the way the media portrayed me, that's what I saw. But when that day, that's why I say how significant that was. When I went around searching for these black businesses, I saw a different view firsthand. I saw us in a different way. Media didn't show us that. Media would never show you that. You'll never hit somebody a lane to the game, so to speak, as they say in the hood, because they may just wake up. And so that's the deceptive of the media. They don't want you to know. They want you to think this way and that way. And unfortunately, a lot of our children today are doing just that because they don't see enough positive. That's why I say the power of the National Black Unity News. They see right now on the front cover, it's about 15 black people on the front cover. Now, where you going to see that in most publications? And that's just on the cover, but it's 45 more inside, with their own pages. But because of the power, and we're just not talking about unity. We're showing it. We demonstrating it. Do you know in Ghana, before the pandemic hit, there was a gentleman over there because one of our editors, Fran Allen, she was sharing her page and he picked up on it and they started talking. And they was going to use the National Black, and I talked to the gentleman, they were going to use the National Black Unity News to every high school in Ghana because of their situation, employment situation was bad. But they started the format of our publication. They saw all of these black, melanated people in this publication talking about great and wonderful, doing for self. And they wanted to take this narrative. They were going to take this narrative all over the country. It's still not a wash yet, when things get back together. But see, this is an example. See, we can talk about this and talk about that. But as I was saying earlier, I've been in so many meetings, and I feel like Martin Luther King when he said he'd been to the mountaintop. So have I when it came to real unity, and I'm seeing it firsthand, is when I look at the people in the National Black Unity News. I've never seen such an ensemble of people from different walks of life who have come together, whose hearts are in the right place, who have a heart to give and share. And not only that, they have expertise in so many variety of fields. And some of them, and I say I'm 70, we got about 15 people in there older than I am, all the way up to 85. And these people in there, they doing it not to make money. They just want to share their stories. You see, when you get to people, when you get to a certain age in life, the worst thing can happen to people like us when we have all of this experience is to carry it to our grave. And bury, and you heard those, there's so much wealth, in the graveyard. But now, because we are working together, and see, not only do I see unity, I've never seen a group of people, not only are they working together in the paper, but now they're working with each other, forming all types of coalitions, doing all sorts of wonderful things. And I am so pleased, that I finally got to see us working together, no discord, no, this group gonna go this way, that group, no. We all in this thing together. And see, it's not only happening with the National Black Unity News, but it's happening all over the world. We are beginning to see the light, but the media won't tell you that. And so, like I said, with the people in the National Black Unity News, they share from their heart. And we even have on this issue, we have a young man as young as 8 years old writing in the publication. And guess what he's writing about? Emmett Till. And the strange thing about he looks like him. Their pictures together, he looks like him. But this young man is talking about how Emmett Till's mother looked out for him and everything else, and how his mother, he just didn't leave it on him. He brought it back to his own parents. Now, can you imagine you have a son 8 years old, and he wrote this article, shining the spotlight on them as well as somebody in our past history. And see, this is the type of information that now, see, when other children get to see his article and see a young man attending, see, this thing going to touch this young man's life for the rest of his life. He may go out, we don't know how much to pay it forward. But let me just say this, I know we don't have a lot of time, but I think it's very impactful that, since you're talking about doing something positive, the mindset. I'd love to share this story because it has so much significance to it. And I know you heard it several times, Dr. McKenzie, is this, years ago, when I was doing the Informer newspaper, and most people in Baltimore know this young lady named Barbara Roberts. She was a state senator. Before that, she was a businesswoman, and she was very successful as a businesswoman. But when I first met her, she was doing, she was struggling back in them days. They had a little cubby hole, one little room office, and, but she was making changes, but she was hosting Morgan State University radio show every Tuesday night. It was a business talk show, such as this, similar to this. But it was on Morgan, and she wrote in the the Informer newspaper at that time. And another brother inside the publication, brother by the name of Satavi Jahi, he and I gave an event years ago. I can't count how many years ago, but in any case, it was years ago. We put on this event, and we gave Miss Robinson a little plaque for the work that she was doing in the paper as well as on the radio. And we had a little dinner. We cooked the food, and I spoke, Satavi spoke, Miss Robinson spoke, and then that was it. But several years later, Miss Robinson still on Morgan State University. I'm still coming on every first Tuesday of the month talking about the Informer newspaper, what's going on in the community. We get a phone call. And this young lady called and said, Mr. Murphy, Miss Robinson said, you don't know who I am, but several years ago, I was walking up the street and somebody invited me into this rec center. She said, y'all fed me, and I heard some great information that evening. She said, but nobody knew at that time, but I was planning on committing suicide. And she went on to say that she just graduated from college. Now, the moral of the story, like, I'm a big old black man, of course, I'm probably since tears flowing because I was so glad that she didn't commit suicide, but to find out that she went on to finish school as well. And I don't know how she's paying things forward. I don't know if she walked up to me today, I would have no clue of who she is. Was she? She could be mistried for all I know. I'm serious. I don't know, because I don't know what she looks like. But in any case, the moral of this story is this: because we did something. We put out some information because we wanted to help our community. Some young lady, was evidently going to some type of trauma that she was even, considering suicide. But because we did something, and we were using media, and we were using everything else, that's how it got started, that we affected her life so much that we may have saved her life. And so I'm saying to you, to those who are listening in right now who may hear this, is this. See, the mind is a powerful tool, just like media is powerful. You can make your mind up. You can, like that, say, I had to make a decision one day, go this way or that way. It's a choice. You make choices every day. Decisions every day. You have to choose this way or that way. But in any case, all I'm suggesting, you choose wisely, because you can make a difference. And you are different. There's no one in the world, never will, and never will ever be someone just like you. Your uniqueness is so great. But, like I said, you can change things. Like I say, old crazy guy like me back in the day, look what I'm doing today. I affect a lot of people. I'm not boasting. I'm not bragging. But this is by divine inspiration, but I do know this. I consider myself a servant of servants. And let me just say this. I serve so many great people that I don't do, all I do is help people get to where they want to go. But see, it's people like Dr. McKenzie and Miss Trotter. See, they the ones putting in the work, and this, that. All I do is come along, try to, boost it up a little bit. But see, this is the power of us, we together. Everybody has their own gifts, their own talents. All you got to do is nurture your own gifts and your own talent in them, and it will make a way for you. Back to you, sir.
Absolutely, absolutely. Go ahead, Catherine.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to give a shout out to Ronnie Francois for tuning in. He actually assists individuals to build business and personal credit. So I want to give a shout out to him. But everything that you just shared, Mr. David, building that community, building that collaboration, and learning how media, even with what we're doing, any form of media, social media, and what you project, what you put out there, it can build our community or it can tear the community down. And I think it's something to be said, even when you've known someone for a long time. That's why I'm blessed to have known you, Mr. David and Dr. Leroy, because we've known each other for years. And to see businessmen in the way for so long, and of course, along the way, there had to be hindrances and challenges, but the testimony is that both of you are still standing and that both of you are still here. And I think that's a lot to be said as we make an impression upon the young people in the community, the youth, the next generation, or I like to say the generation of now, right? Because they can impact change in their 16 years old, 17 years, whatever age they are. But when they see individuals that have started a business and continue with the business and didn't give up despite the challenges, I think it's a testament in that says, you know what, we in our community can build, but also build longevity and build community, right? And build that collaboration. So it's something to be said. So for those that's watching now, you may be watching later, you may be listening to this and you're like, you know what, I need to send this link to another entrepreneur, or I need to send this link to some young people and say, listen, David Murphy started this national newspaper years and years ago, but guess what? It is still standing, and it is doing what? It is creating change, it's provoking change, and it's doing one other thing, is building collaboration. Dr. Leroy.
Yeah, absolutely. Brother David, I don't know if you have a copy of the current issue that you were just talking about, because we definitely want the people to be able to see that. And I want you to give your the contact information where people can go get a copy of the newspaper, connect with you in order to be able to do those collaborations, those partnerships and everything like that, and even be a part of the National Black Unity News.
Okay, I don't know if you can see this or not, but this is the current copy, the current issue of the National Black Unity News.
Yeah, you got it on.
Yeah, and but in any case, you can go to, of course, www.tnbun.com. tnbun.com. That's it for the National Black Unity News.com. And on the first page, you scroll down, you can actually see this entire paper online. Matter of fact, if you go to our archives, you can see all our issues from 2017, when we started the National Black Unity News. But and also you can contact me at 443-455-2373. And again, the National Black Unity News, again, is by us and it's for us. And it's a wealth of information in there, information that you won't get anywhere. And again, it's solution oriented. And the most important thing is that we are telling our stories. And there's a lot more to the National Black Unity News that we don't mention. We also do a Monday night podcast, a Tuesday night podcast. We do podcasting. Again, we do networking. So we have a nationwide Black business directory we're kicking off. And so it's a lot of tentacle to this publication. But the National Black Unity News is what we call a tool. But what makes the National Black Unity, the heart of it is the people behind the scenes. That like I say, only God could assemble so many great minds together to come together to go out to our people, especially for such a time as this. People are hurting. People are making all types of decisions. They are businessmen who are contemplating doing this. And I just want to encourage those who may be on the brink of just thinking about doing something. Please do something. I'm gonna tell you this. Yes, if you go back over your life, it ain't been that easy. I don't care what you have done. So you might as well do something positive and make a difference in your life. And there's so many. I'm just telling you by experience. Money is not everything. Money can help you do a lot of great things. But I'm gonna tell you the benefits that I get from what I've done over the years. You could never put a price on. You could never put a price on, like when I was talking about that young lady that almost committed. So I could tell you thousands of stories of some, business owners, was about to go under because we came along and spotlighted them, survived them. Then the opportunities, the networks that we have all across this nation. And, and so, but like I say, and because of the technology, and you got people like Ms. Trotter and Dr. McKenzie on here who have serious networks, and I have a serious network as well. Look, that's the street right here. Look how powerful this little circle we have right here with the connections that we have from over the years. See, it's really, I'm going to tell you something, there's really no excuse. All you have to do is make up your mind, say you're going to do something, stick to it, weather the storm. And let me tell you about, because life is like a journey. And you're going to go on one whether you choose to or not. You're still going to go on this journey. But if you're going to go on one, make it count. Because like I say, you never know those in your family, those in your communities who's waiting on you, waiting on your ideas, waiting on your expertise. And so again, Ms. Trotter, Dr. McKenzie, I'm sincerely want to thank you both because I know, and like I said, the people who know me, they know I'm a networker, and I've been watching both of them for years doing their thing, and they are so multifaceted in the things that they do, and I encourage you greatly to support them. Please support them because they sincerely, from the heart, support you, and so I appreciate you both.
Thank you so much for coming on our show today. Plug your website one more time and any contact information once again.
Yes, it's www.tnbun.com, and you can call us at 443-455-2373.
Absolutely. Dr. Leroy, any last words before we close out?
I'll just say this: subscribe. We want you to subscribe to the newspaper. You can get it delivered right directly to your door. You won't have to leave, go anywhere. We want you to take, because this newspaper will give you information, stories that you're not going to read anywhere else. I promise you. It will give you knowledge, information, and resources that are not readily available out here. So I'll leave you all with that, but also be a game changer this week. Be a game changer. Step into who it is that you are. Make a difference, not only with your business, but make a difference in your community, for your community, because that's what it's about. Our community doesn't become better if we don't step up, if we don't become the game changers that we need us to be. And have the focus that we need to be, that we need to have for us to be able to move forward. Be that game changer. Mindset is everything. What the mind focuses on, it expands. What the mind focuses on, it expands. So, Captain, I'll leave that with you.
Absolutely. And so this has been a phenomenal edition. Share this episode because it will impact another life in our community. Well, I always say as we close out, I'm going to see you at the top because that's where we're going. We're all going to make it there as we collaborate, as we come together as one. See you next week.